The year was 1967, and boy, it was a very interesting time to be alive. You had America smack dab in the middle of the Vietnam War. You had the first black Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall in the building. And after a long day of work, you can go ahead to your local McDonald's and get you a Big Mac for a whopping 45 cents. And while all that history is good and interesting, that's not what I want to talk about. So let's just zoom in our focus into the world of basketball. What happened during this year? What happened in the 1966-67 NBA season would be a dream for all hoop enthusiasts, and the only people that didn't like it were the Boston Celtics fans. It was time for a new king of the basketball world. What's good, family? It's your favorite cousin, Commissioner CJ, and welcome to the Basketball Lore Archive, the channel that analyzes and appreciates the history of basketball. And in today's video, I have a Sixers team that the modern day Sixers fans would have hoped to have gotten a resemblance of in today's NBA season, but obviously that wasn't the case. A team that till this day, even after all these decades, are still regarded as one of the best teams to ever play in the league. Obviously, if you ain't read the thumbnail and the title, we talking about the 1967 76ers, or as I like to call them, the Boston Slayers. However, but before I get into that, let's just look at the personnel to see what they was working with. Let's see the players that made this team so great. Their leader and undeniable best player is a man that needs no introduction. You know who he is. You know how he gets down. We're talking about Wilt Chamberlain. And just in case you forgot what he did this season, don't worry, I'm about to tell you right now. Wilt Chamberlain in the 66-67 season averaged 24 points, 7.8 assists, 24 rebounds, while shooting 68% from the field and 44% from the charity stripe. All that while clocking over 45 minutes a game. Not too surprising, just another stat line of one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But it's the other people on the roster that you probably heard less about. If you didn't know, Wilt also had a Robin before Jerry West by the name of Hal Greer, who was a 6'2" combo guard who could light it up on any defense in the league if you weren't too careful. As showed by his averages that season, as he put up 22 points, 3.8 assists, 5.5 rebounds, shooting 45% from the field, 78 from the line, and was clocking in 38 minutes a night. That coupled with the fact that he was a 10-time All-Star and a member of the All-NBA team 7 times over his career, he was no slouch of a player, and you needed to focus on him. If you want to learn more about High Gear Greer, then there's a video already up on the channel that you can watch after this one to get more familiar with him as a player. Now that already sounds like a formidable duo for any defense to keep in check. Even the great Boston Celtics will have problem with these two players. It's that third player, that X factor, that really set them over the edge. And that X factor was Chet the Jet Walker, a 6'7" wing player who was renowned for his all-around capabilities on the court, while also having a knack to hit big clutch shots, especially when the team needed him the most. If for some reason Wilt couldn't have it going, Hal Greer's shot not falling, getting packed in the paint, you could always count on Chet to get you a bucket and get that team going when you really needed it, especially playing that third option role. And in that role he would excel, as he would put up 19 points, 2.5 assists, 8 rebounds, shooting 48% from the field, 76% from the charity stripe, while clocking in 33 minutes. And ironically enough, I've also made a video about Chet Walker, which is also on the channel already if you haven't seen it. Link to both of those videos down in the description and comments below. And with all three of them making the All-Star team that year, you can safely say that Philly had a nice big three going on over there. But as we've seen time and time again, just because you have a big three doesn't mean you're gonna make it, no matter how good those three players are individually. Even if they're playing great together, if the rest of the roster cannot pick it up as well, then they're not gonna achieve anything. And the rest of the roster did their job and did all the small things to help the superstars be super. As the rest of the starting five, we have Wally Jones, who occupied the point guard position, who would average 13.2 points, 3.7 assists, 3.3 rebounds, shooting 43 from the field, 83 from the charity, while giving you 27.8 minutes a night. And last but not least, you better not forget about my boy Luke Jackson, the perfect four to put right beside Wilt, as he was strong, could score on the inside, and whatever rebound Wilt didn't get, he was right there to snatch it up. As that season he would average 12 points, 1.4 assists, 8.9 rebounds, shooting 43% from the field, 75 from the charity, giving you 29 minutes every single night. Now that rounds out the whole starting five. Seems like a pretty big tank of an offense to have to get dealing with, am I right? However, they was gonna have their kick and eat it too, as they had a gem in Billy Cunningham being their sixth man, and that season he would average 18.5 points, 2.5 assists, 7.5 rebounds, shooting 45% from the field, 68% from the charity stripe, while giving you 26 minutes a night as a sixth man coming off your bench. And a very underrated part of every championship team's success, you gotta have those veterans, such as Larry Costello and Matt Gudats. Both has played 8 and 10 seasons in the league respectively up to this time. That mixed with some young rookie talent, and you got yourself a recipe for a magical season. Sorry, but I gotta call this quick timeout. Did you guys know that only about 6% of you guys are subscribed to the channel?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I'm talking about my stats. As you can clearly see, only about 6% of you guys are subscribed that watch my content. If you're not already, please make sure to subscribe, as it not only shows support for the content, it also lets me know that you enjoy watching it just as much as I enjoy making it. Same with all that out the way, back to your regularly scheduled program. Alright family, now that you're fully acquainted with the roster, let's get right into what made their season so magical. They started out the season hot, fresh out the grease, as they would go undefeated in their first 7 games. 5 of those games being in which they would beat their opponent by double digits, and it wouldn't be like 10, 11. No, it'll be closer to 15, 16, 17 points. So these was not close games they was winning either. They were blowouts. The Sixers wouldn't taste defeat that season until they ran up against the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the world in the Boston Celtics. And Boston sent a message to the Sixers saying, we are still the team to beat. No matter how good you think you are, you're not really that good until you beat us. As they would give them the beatdown of a 87-105 loss against Boston. But you know what they say about the NBA, it's a long season, it's a very talented league. Anybody on any given night can lose to any other team. So don't get hung up on one loss and keep it pushing. And for the rest of the season up until the All-Star break, it would be complete domination by the Sixers on the rest of the league. They will only lose 3 more games before the All-Star break, making their total losses before then only 4. Those 3 other losses came to 1, the Boston Celtics again, so there's 2 against them, 1 by the Cincinnati Royals that had Oscar Robertson, and 1 by the New York Knicks. All of that would give them a great record of 39-4 heading into the All-Star break. Now I know you're probably wondering, Wilt Chamberlain didn't win a lot of championships, he only had 2. So what made this game plan so much different than the other ones, even though he was putting up monstrous stats the whole time he'd been in the league? It's at this point where I have to talk about the biggest change in the 76ers organization this year, which was their new coach. For the past 2 or 3 seasons before this, the 76ers coach was a man by the name of Dolph Schayes, who was a former NBA player who I might do a video on, be on the lookout for that. But in terms of his coaching ability, just by me looking at the stats and looking at how many shot attempts Wilt got, I can only assume that his coaching idea was give it to the big man down low and let him eat, and if y'all get rebounds or easy fast break opportunities, that's that. However, when Coach Alex Hannum took over the team and started coaching, that's when we saw a different brand of basketball. Coach Hannum would implement a style of basketball that we see a lot in the modern NBA. He would use Wilt's gravity, his threat of scoring, to set up everyone else in the offense so they would get easy looks they otherwise wouldn't have. And it wouldn't be anything flashy, no sixth sense eyes in the back of his head, none of that. Just simple chest passes, bounce passes, hitting the open man. This is a concept that doesn't get taught a lot about, how the coach can really impact winning. Because just the season before, when the coach just said, okay, we'll carry us every single game. You're going to play 45 minutes, 44 minutes every single night. And we're going to need you to carry us to a victory every single night too. You're getting no help. They won 55 games that season. They finished first in their conference and had a top 3 defense in the whole league. And their offense, with it just being throw it to Wilt and let him go to work, was still average at worst. Obviously, he still had all the same teammates that he had on this championship run, but the coach wasn't using those players to the best of their abilities, nor was he using Wilt to the best of his abilities either. So remember, when you're talking about all these players, make sure you take into account what coach is coaching them and the rest of the 13-man roster. But enough about the coaches, let's get back to the Sixers. In the second half of the NBA season, it was more of the same, but they tapped up a few extra losses because everyone else is back in game shape. Really, the second half of the season, after the All-Star break, is when every team is really at full strength and you getting full-fledged opponents every single night. However, the rest of the league could only give them 9 more L's before the start of the playoffs, giving them a grand total of 68 wins with only 13 losses, which would give them the best record in league history at the time. They will also end the season as a #1 ranked offense, whereas not only did they score the most points on average for a team that season at 125, they also had the best offensive rating of 101.5. And they didn't just play offense either, no, they played both sides of the floor, as they held their opponents to only 115 points, which would give them a defensive rating of 93.3. Those two things, coupled with the fact that they was above average in pace as a 122.9, this would all wrap up and give them a net rating of plus 7.7, which would make them the best net rating team in the whole league. But enough about the regular season. You know what you're really here for. You hear about this postseason success they had. Well, don't worry, because I'ma tell you, their postseason run was just as dominant, if not more dominant, than their regular season run. Because you know, in the regular season, you could play them bad teams to run up your score and make your averages look a little better than what they actually are, than if you would only play good defensive and offensive teams every single game. The good teams are scouting against you, game planning against you, trying to make every single play more uncomfortable than the last one. And even still, they still went 11-4 in the playoffs. Let's go over their playoff stats so you can really see how dominant they was on the individual standpoint. Wilt Chamberlain did his thing that playoffs, giving you 21 points, 9 assists, 30 rebounds, shooting 57% from the field, 38% from the free throw line, while clocking in 47.9 minutes a game. He almost averaged a triple-double for the entirety of the playoffs. And if he did average a triple-double, it would be a 20, 10, and 30 triple-double he would average if he got that one extra assist. Those are Jokic-like numbers. If anything, they might be even a little better than Jokic numbers, because he's not grabbing 30 rebounds like that. However, the bucket getter award for this team's postseason run goes to Hal Greer, as he would average 27 points, 5 assists, 5.9 rebounds, shooting 43% from the field, 80% from the charity stripe, clocking in 46 minutes. He said, oh, if you need offense, I can give you offense, giving you 30 a night. And you better not have forgot my boy Chet, as he would give you 21 points, 2 assists, 7.5 rebounds, shooting 46% from the field, 80% from the charity strike line, clocking in 37 minutes a night. And that's just the big 3 numbers. You still got to worry about the rest of the roster. Let's get on to the rest of the starting lineup, because you got the 4, Luke Jackson, giving you 11 points, 2 assists, 11 rebounds, 40% from the field, 72% from the charity stripe. A walking double-double every single night on the court, and he was also clocking in 36 minutes, so he was out there for a good bit. And don't you dare forget my boy Wally Wonder, as he was that starting point guard, giving you 17.5 points, 4 assists, 2.8 rebounds, shooting 45% from the field, 77 from the charity stripe, clocking in 32 minutes a night. And then whenever Luke Jackson went to the bench, you had the Kangaroo Kid Billy Cunningham coming in, giving you 15 points, 2.2 assists, 6.2 rebounds, giving you 37% from the field with 66 from the free throw line in only 22.5 minutes. And then rounding off the bench, you got Matt Gukas, rookie straight out the draft, only giving you 17 minutes, 4 points, 1.5 assists, 2 rebounds, 40% from the field, 76 from the charity stripe. He was really more there, just an energy guy. Come in, play defense, make good passes, good rotations. Just enough so the stars can get a little bit of rest so they can come in ready to go. And now with all their stats out the way, let's get right into their playoff run to see who they beat on their road to get this championship. In the Eastern Conference semifinals, in the first round against the Cincinnati Royals, which was a team that was led by the Oscar Robertson, so there wasn't anything to be taken lightly. In a series that only took 5 games, in which they would lose the first one by 4 points, just a little squeak out by Cincinnati to get a quick little dub for next season, because in the following 4 games they would get beat by an average of 20 points and get sit back packing to Cincinnati. Nothing really happened much in this series, really mundane, just as you would expect. Oscar Robertson goes off, Wilt Chamberlain, Chet Walker, Hal Greer, they have their nights. Everyone scoring good, doing good, and the Cincinnati just wasn't good enough. However, in the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where things get interesting, as they going up against the reigning, defending, undisputed champions of the world, Boston Celtics. At this point, I want you to leave a comment down below and to let you know who was the most important person in this series for the Sixers. Was it Wilt, Greer, Chet, anybody else that I mentioned before? Just let me know right now. Okay, you got him? Okay. The Sixers won this series because of one man, and his name was Wally Jones. In that Boston series, Wally Jones would average 19 points and about 3.5 assists in that 5-game stretch. He would score 20 or more points in 4 of the 5 games, and the one game in which he didn't, the team lost. So you can see that when he scored that much, the team was unbeatable. And it wasn't no fluke stuff either, like he was just throwing things up and just because he had enough shots they went in. No, he shot over 50% in 3 of those 4 games where he scored over 20. The Sixers beat the brakes off Boston for 3 straight games, and in the 4th game they was looking for the sweep, but somehow Boston stayed alive and said, not on our home court. It's okay, because once they went back to Philly, they booted them boys, said, yeah, y'all can stay in Massachusetts, we're going to San Francisco to play in this finals. However, they did celebrate a little bit after beating the Boston Celtics, because that was a team that was running the league for the past 8 seasons. So it really was a breath of fresh air to even get past that monster to begin with. However, their finals opponent would not be no slouch. They weren't the greatest defensive team in all of basketball history. However, they had one of the greatest prolific scorers to ever touch the court in Rick Barry, and one of the most underrated big men to ever play the game in Nate Thurman. They would prove to be a formidable team, as they would be the only team this whole postseason to take more than 1 game away from this Sixers squad. However, it's not the first one to 2, it's the first one to 4, and Philly beat them 4 games to 2 and to take home that trophy. However, back in this time, there was no finals MVP trophy. It's just that your team was the best team in the league for that season. So there wasn't any extra awards that could have been given out. However, I did look at the 2 best players on the Sixers team, Wilt Chamberlain and Hal Greer, and broke down their final stats for you guys, so you can decide who should have got the MVP. In those 6 finals games, Wilt Chamberlain would average 17.5 points, 6.1 assists, and 28.5 rebounds. Hal Greer, on the other hand, came up with 26 points, 6.2 assists, and 8 rebounds in those 6 games of the finals. Personally, I would love to give it to Hal Greer, because at his size, doing what he was doing is very formidable. However, I cannot ignore 28.5 rebounds. That's pretty much unheard of. Imagine if like half of those are on the offensive end. You know how many extra possessions you're giving your team by that? I know that season had to feel so good, not only for 76ers fans, Wilt himself, but just an average fan of basketball back in those days. For anyone that wasn't a Celtics fan, it was a great time to watch basketball. The teamwork, the chemistry, the personnel, everything just fell into place for the Sixers, for the NBA really, just to have another dominant team to challenge the Boston Celtics and to make it interesting. All those players earned that championship, and they will go down as one of the greatest teams to ever lace up together for a year of NBA basketball. Alright family, that's all I got for you on this one. I know I've been gone for a while. However, I'm back. I gave y'all a nice lengthy video to make up for it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to check out those other videos of Hal Greer and Chet Walker if you haven't already. And if somehow you made it all the way to this far in the video, this is 20 minutes long. This is by far my longest video on the channel. If you made it all the way here, let me get a free Tyrese Maxey down in the comments below, because the current day 76ers is nothing like this team right here. And with that all out the way, it's been your favorite cousin, Commissioner CJ of the BLA. And y'all boys stay safe out there until the next time, alright? Peace.
I dried up and execute, I need a coaching job. I'm the type to help my man score, I'm finna throw the lob. These niggas ain't touching paper, they just broken lost. In the 300, it bends the earth like I train with Todd. Historic run, not for